Hello, I'm Morgan Jefferson. I'm a research worker trying to explore further information about the Chairman's Mao Culture Revolution, including who was involved, the location, and what was happening during and after this period. I will be interviewing four historians who will cover different aspects. Let me allow them to introduce themselves.
Hey, my name is Trinity Knight, and I'm a historian.
Hello, my name is Zoe Johnson. I'm a photographer and a historian as well.
Hello, I'm Taylor Kimball, and I'm a historian.
Hey, I'm Kenneth Law, and I'm a historian. Welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for being here. I understand the Cultural Revolution was to regain control over the Chinese Communist Party by purging perceived bourgeois elements within the party and society. I'm also familiar with Chairman Mao, aka Mao Zedong, who was the person behind the Great Leap Forward policy, which was a campaign that ran from 1958 to 1952 that aimed to combat social vices like opium addiction and prostitution and to revoke folk technologies. This, however, was a failed plan as it led to 45 million deaths, making him the second mass murderer in history. This ultimately led to the overall loss of Mao's position in the party, which is why he started the revolution, correct?
That is correct, Morgan. But let me elaborate on his motives. As you mentioned, Chairman Mao was the primary architect and driving force behind the Cultural Revolution in China. He desired to reaffirm his control over the Chinese government because he was concerned that the current communist leaders were steering China in the wrong direction as they drifted toward revisionism. So, his goal was to renew the spirit of the communist revolution through a social government, which was an ideal classless society where the means of production were owned and controlled by the state on behalf of the people.
Oh, a socialist government. This makes sense as to why he believed in empowering the working class and peasants because he saw them as the driving force of revolution and societal change. This also explains why he wanted to achieve certain policy changes to make educational, healthcare, and cultural systems less elite, eliminating all capitalist elements.
Exactly. Chairman Mao had good intentions to strengthen the country's identity, but went wrong in the process and mindset.
Now let's dive into the actions Mao encountered to accomplish his ideal society for China. Trinity?
To establish this revolutionary, he formed a group with several key figures and also his wife, Jiaxing, known as the Gang of Four. This group promoted Mao's revolutionary ideology and implemented his policies. As you mentioned, he disliked the idea of bourgeois, so with their group, targeted many people who were considered themselves as bourgeois revolutionary, along with intellectuals and bureaucrats within the Communist Party, which sooner than later began to result in a widespread of prosecution, violence, and social upheavals. Their influence also extended into various aspects of Chinese society, including education, the military, and the government. This means Mao decided to shut down schools since he wanted the youth to have revolutionary experience through parliamentary units known as the Red Guards.
It seems that anyone considered a threat to the Communist Party ideologically, including a variety of individuals such as intellect, artists, and writers were affected. However, those involved in the educational system, including teachers, professors, and other educators, as well as students, remained affected. Educators were often sent to labor camps or subject to public humiliation. Labor camps were used to re-educate those deemed counter-revolutionaries, where they faced hard physical labor and many forms of abuse and mistreatment. As you mentioned, students formed groups called the Red Guards, named after the Red Army, which helped establish the People's Republic of China in 1949. The Red Guards were expected to purge Mao's enemies and participate in mass rallies, protests, and campaigns.
Don't forget, religious groups, ethnic minorities, and anyone with ties to the former ruling class were also persecuted. Also, don't forget Mao's Little Red Book, officially titled Quotations from Chairman Mao Zedong, was distributed to the Red Guards and the general population to diffuse the revolutionary ideas and consolidation.
The books contain a collection of his quotations, speeches, and writings emphasizing the principles of Marxism, Leninism, and Mao Zedong thoughts. This was his way to mobilize the masses and rally his support for his vision.
Interesting. It is understood that this event primarily took place in the People's Republic of China. Could you specify all locations of this revolution, including where it started, which city has the most deaths, and etc.?
Mao launched the so-called Cultural Revolution, known in full as the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, in August 1966. At the meeting of the Polon of the Central Committee, the working of the meetings of the Polon were held at the military-run Jinx Hotel in Beijing. As you said, the revolution itself primarily took place in the People's Republic of China. It, however, did spread across the entire country, affecting urban and rural areas alike. While the events of the Cultural Revolution were most intense in cities and industrial centers, its influence permeated all levels of Chinese society, from the highest echelons of government to the lowest villages.
Also, where were the majority of the activities taking place, and which countries saw the most severe disruptions?
Things like the Red Guard activities, mass rallies, purges, and other campaign efforts were conducted nationwide. Cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Zhengzhou saw some of the most significant upheavals, but no region of China remained untouched by the movement's impact. This will explain the dark shades on the map, which indicate the highest number of killings, ranging from 258 to 601,000.
Thanks, Zoe. Now, Kenneth, the Cultural Revolution took place over a decade, from 1966 to 1976, correct?
That's correct, specifically from 1966 to 1976. Here's a brief timeline to highlight significant events between those years. In 1966, Mao Zedong launches the Cultural Revolution to reassert his dominance over the Chinese Communist Party. In 1966, destroying the Four O's, Red Guards attacked traditional Chinese culture, including temples, artifacts, and ancient texts, aiming to create a new socialist society. In 1976, this was the end of the Cultural Revolution and Mao's death.
To wrap up this topic of Chairman Mao's Cultural Revolution, discuss the overall outcomes it's had on China's society.
Social chaos, as it is unleashed in widespread violence, political prosecution, and social upheavals, leading to the deaths of hundreds and thousands of people and many more suffering. The upheaval severely disrupted China's economy, resulting in a widespread of poverty, stagnation, and the loss of productivity. With schools, universities, and industrials being shut down, it led to the loss of education and many skills.
Traditional Chinese culture suffered significant damage as cultural artifacts, historical sites, and religious institutions were destroyed because they were seen as symbols of China's traditional culture and bourgeois values, which the revolution aimed to eradicate in favor of Maoist ideology and revolutionary purity. Ultimately, this was when political consolidation was used as a power of brutality.
I appreciate all you guys taking the time to talk to me to cover the Cultural Revolution and how this over time had a long-lasting effect on China's economy. With this, we now gain insight into the challenges and opportunities ahead for China and its evolving role in the global economy.